glittering chandeliers and velvet balconies of Paris's Grand Palais Garnier lies the birthplace of one of the most iconic stories ever told, The Phantom of the Opera. A novel, a legend, and one of the most famous musicals in history, all tracing their shadowed roots back to this very building. But like every great ghost story, the fiction wasn't created out of thin air. Deep below the marble staircases and ceilings is a world of hidden chambers, tragic events, unexplained deaths, ghost sightings, and a mysterious underground reservoir that sparked whispers of a real-life phantom. Welcome back to Supernatural Signals. Today we're stepping inside the opera house that inspired a cultural phenomenon to uncover the history, tragedies, and hauntings that still clings to its walls. The Palais Garnier opened in 1875, a monument to glamour, built in a time of revolution and uncertainty. It was designed to impress, intimidate, and dazzle. But the foundations of this place were far less stable than the fantasies performed on its stage. During construction, workers hit groundwater. To stop the building from sinking, engineers built an enormous underground cistern, a dark reservoir beneath the opera. This murky lake became fertile ground for rumor. To imagine a phantom living in the shadows, it didn't take much effort. On May 20th, 1896, the opera's elegance quite literally came crashing down. A massive counterweight from the grand chandelier snapped loose during a packed evening performance. Witnesses says it sounded like an explosion, with metal screaming, audience members frozen, then chaos erupting. The weight plunged through the ceiling and into the crowds below, killing a 56-year-old woman who tragically had traded seats with someone moments earlier because she wanted a better view of the stage. Newspapers described panic, smoke, sparks, and a stampede as people fled the theater. Some claimed that they saw a shadow moving around the rafters right before the crash, a detail that fed rumors for decades. Investigators blamed faulty wiring and weakened support, but many cast members whispered of sabotage or something darker. Leroux later dramatized this event into the phantom deliberately cutting the chandelier loose, turning a real tragedy into a heartbeat of a story. Now, for a building dedicated to beauty and art, Palais Garnier has a surprisingly grim undercurrent. Long before the Phantom of the Opera existed, performers reported strange deaths and eerie encounters, such as the machinist. A stagehand was found hanged in the building's lower levels. Officials ruled it a suicide, but co-workers swore he had been terrified for weeks, saying that he heard footsteps following him through locked corridors. His death cemented the idea that the opera house had an unseen resident. The ballerina ghost. Dancers often rehearsed alone late at night, and many claim that they saw a woman in a white ballet dress drifting near the stage, always near the same spot where a ballerina had once fallen to her death. Some describe hearing soft shoe taps behind them when the building was empty. The mirror murmurs. Rehearsal rooms filled wall to wall with mirrors are said to be active with something unexplainable. Performers have reported hearing whispered voices behind them, only to find their reflection alone. A few even claim their reflection lagged, just slightly behind their movements. An eerie recurring rumor tied to the building's ghost lore. The Phantom Box, number 5. Opera Box 5 is famously reserved as the Phantom's Box. Even today, staff sometimes avoid it. Some say they've heard chair creaks from within or seen the curtain move when the box is locked. Whether superstition or spectacular, it's become a symbol of the opera's haunted reputation. Now let's get into the rumored real phantom. One of the oldest legends surrounding the opera tells the story of a disfigured musician from the previous opera house, the one lost in the devastating fire in 1873. According to the story, he survived the fire but was horribly scarred. His lover, a singer, was killed. He supposedly refused to re-enter society, and as the new opera house was being built, people began reporting a pale man slipping into the lower chambers. Construction workers swore they heard someone down there, footsteps humming, even a piano in the distance, when no instruments have ever been inside yet. Some believe he lived near the underground water reservoir, moving through the forgotten maintenance tunnels. But again, no proof. But the legend persisted strongly enough that Leroux referenced in an interview saying he did not invent everything. By the time The Phantom of the Opera was published in 1910, the Palais Garnier was already breeding grounds for rumors. Leroux was a journalist, not just a novelist. He approached the story like an investigation, digging through archives, police reports, and architectural plans. So his novel was a strange mix of real deaths, real architectural secrets, real fires, real paranormal rumors, and a fictional figure who felt possible because of the building structure itself. The public didn't just read the story, they believed parts of it. Tours of the building began asking guides, where was the Phantom's lair? People insisted the lake meant he had to be real. The building and the myth became intertwined, inseparable. Even today, staff claim that the building has hot spots, places they avoid being alone, especially after midnight. Visitors report sudden cold pockets in otherwise warm rooms, shadows crossing balconies when no one is there, whispers of singing near closed rehearsal halls, the feeling of being followed on the grand staircase. Some tour guides even admit they won't go into certain underground passages without another person. The opera's catacombs, storage room, and stage machinery tunnels stretch for miles, many unlit and many forgotten. And yes, some people still swear they've seen a man in a dark coat watching from the upper levels, only for him to vanish when they look again. Alrighty, so now that we have a better understanding of the Palais Garnier and how it relates to the Phantom of the Opera, let's get into some theories. There's a theory I love, one that says the universe responds to curious people. That when humans reach out, investigate, and tug on the threads of a mystery, the world around them pulls back. It whispers, it reveals, it transforms. And Palais Garnier is a perfect example. Gaston Leroux wasn't just a writer, he was a seeker. He studied the opera house, explored its archives, crawled into its corners, traced its forgotten tragedies, and listened to its rumors. His curiosity fed the building. Here's the strange part. The building fed him right back. The opera's real mysteries, the underground lake, the deaths, the hauntings, the architecture that felt like a maze, all poured into the Phantom of the Opera. And when Leroux released the story into the world, it reignited all the legends. Suddenly, the building's whispers grew louder. People swore the Phantom was real. Ghost stories multiplied. The opera house and the myth began evolving together, almost like two living things shaping one another. For better or worse, the curious and the universe met in the middle, creating one of the most iconic tales in history. A loop of inspiration, imagination, and energy that continues even today, every time someone steps into the Palais Garnier and wonders what still lingers there. And maybe that's why the legend of the Phantom never fades, because it isn't just a story on stage. It's a conversation between a curious mind, a haunted building, and a universe that seems to answer back. Every rumor, every shadow sighting, every whisper behind a mirror, they keep the myth alive. Not a single ghost, but a living echo, born from the fascination and fear. Whether the Phantom was ever really real hardly matters now. What matters is how the opera house and the human imagination fuse together, creating a presence that still feels alive in the dark corners of the Palais Garnier. Alrighty, if you enjoy exploring the strange threads that tie history, hauntings, and human curiosity together, Make sure to subscribe and join me on more dives into the unexplained. There's always another story hiding just beneath the surface, and I'd love to have you here with me when we uncover it. Other than that, thank you for watching, and as always, stay curious and stay tuned into the supernatural. Thanks for watching.